Minnesota Vikings are a run first team, so if you're going to be a run first team, it makes sense to have running backs, especially good ones. Minnesota Vikings, fortunately, do have a nice stable of players who are ready to tote the rock behind a offensive line. But of course, Gary Kubiak, the Magic Man, turning 1,000-yard rushers out of nobodies. Imagine if you start with somebody. It's going to be great. So, continuing on our training camp preview, running backs, go. All right. So roster includes Dalvin Cook, a 2017 second-round pick, Alexander Mattison, Mike Boone, Amir Abdullah, Tony Brooks-James, the free agent signee C.J. Ham, as well as UDFA Jake Vargas. But, of course, starting at the top, primo numero uno, if he stays healthy, he's the best running back in the league for my money. Dalvin Friggin Cook last year finally got things together to a degree. 250 carries, 1,135 yards, 13 tutties, as well as 53 catches, 519 yards receiving on 63 targets. And like we said, if he stays healthy, perfect system for him. Outside scheme, foot in the dirt and go. Lots of screens, lots of short passes that he can bust for big gains. If Dalvin can stay healthy, they're going to give him the work. Zimmer wants to run the ball. Kubiak traditionally has a single workhorse system, except for a couple years in Houston when Arian Foster was starting to wane. Ben Tate was in the mix. Remember Vikings legend Ben Tate? Good times. But, yeah, Dalvin can be the absolute apex of the running back position and help carry the Vikings to the promised land this year. If they're still healthy. Yeah. Also, running back to Alexander Mattison, a 2019 third-round pick out of Boise State University. He and Ezra Cleveland go way back like chiroprac. Last year, 100 carries, 462 yards, and a touchdown in spot duty behind Dalvin Cook. And he does have a nice little balance of agility. He's got speed, 4.6-ish range, which is great for a player his size. He's certainly got some power between the tackles and short yardage as well. Plus, he just hurdles dudes, which is always funny to me. It's like, remember Jermaine Wiggins out there hurdling dudes? Like a 6 foot, Wiggins is like, what, 6'3", 270 pounds, just out there hurdling dudes. Same thing with Alexander Mattison. And if anything did happen to Dalvin, or if the Vikings decide to move on from him next season, I do think that Alexander Mattison could be a running back one in this league. I think that he's perfectly suited for the zone scheme. I think he's got great vision, as well as maybe didn't test off the charts in agility wise, but I think he's got a really good short area explosiveness, which could make him dangerous in this scheme. Next up, the marvelous Mike Boone. Y'all know and love him. 2018 UDFA. Remember, it was Mike Boone and Rock Thomas for such a while. It was like neck and neck. It was like, oh, who's going to be it? Oh, and then Rock Thomas decided to take himself out of the running. But Mike Boone, absolute freak plus athlete coming out of Cincinnati, converted wide receiver as well. Last year, he actually ended up starting 2 games in place of the injured Dalvin Cook, plus Madison was banged up for a hot second as well. 49 carries, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, a pretty robusto 5.6 yards per carry. Now, I'm still not sold. I don't think that Mike Boone could be like a breakout candidate, but if poop really did hit the fan, there's a couple of alien abductions, and I mean, worse running backs have run for 1,000 yards in a Gary Kubiak scheme before. And Mike Boone seriously does have a lot of talent. I believe in him. I think he's extremely explosive, as well as a lot of home run potential. So, I mean, if poop did hit the fan, like we said, you could do a lot worse than Mike Boone as your running back 3. Also, speaking of a lot worse, so Amir Abdullah, you could do a lot worse than a former second-round pick as your running back 4. 2015 second-round pick coming out of Nebraska, former Detroit Lion, getting revenge or something. 23 carries, 115 yards in spot duty last year, as well as 15 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown on 21 targets. Also became the Vikings' primary kick returner. Now, having this level, this caliber of player as a running back 4, I think is great. Great running back privilege. Vikings have a lot of running back privilege going on. So Amir Abdullah, again, if things came to it, if Amir Abdullah had to be the lead back in the offense, like I said, you could probably do a lot worse. Also, the addition. So the Vikings didn't draft or bring in any UDFA running backs this year, but they did sign Tony Brooks-James, who was a UDFA last year coming out of Oregon. Did some nice things in the preseason for the Falcons. Was on and off the practice squad. The Vikings signed him to a futures contract. But Again, we say as of right now, he's currently on the roster. If the Vikings do have to trim roster down to 80, I could easily see Brooks James being jettisoned, since the Vikings are pretty stout. The first 4 running backs, it's going to be tough for James to make the roster. Also, so since we do separate running back from fullback, because fullback is a much more important position, C.J. Ham, 2016 UDFA out of Augustana, still a stud, still underutilized and underrated in terms of short yardage carrying the rock, as well as a receiver out of the backfield. Vikings use the fullback second most in the league, behind only San Francisco and the massively overrated Kyle Used. Check. Yeah, but C.J. Ham, for me, is the best fullback in the league, and he does a phenomenal job leading these dudes in the running game. As well as they got UDFA Jake Vargas out of North Carolina. He's a bit of a fullback tight end hybrid. Last year at Chapel Hill, had 3 catches, 15 yards, and a touchdown. And same thing with Tony Brooks James. If the Vikings do have to reduce their roster from 87 to 90, could easily see Vargas finding his way out of town, since C.J. Ham's firmly entrenched as the fullback. Don't necessarily see them carrying one on the practice squad, and if something did happen to C.J. Ham, they could probably plug in, Gronklin. They'd be fine there. So that's it. That is a training camp preview. Vikings running backs, pretty nice looking group, pretty damn stout. I love it. But your thoughts, let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Pull us on the Venmo. Please give us a follow on social media as well. But until next time, Skull Production Value.